Today I'm going to show you how to refill a Pax Pod the easy way. There are a few videos out there that show you taking apart the bottom of this and pulling this all out, but it's really messy and you run a risk of damaging the coil as well as the wick that is running through the coil inside of the pod. So this is going to be a demonstration on how to do it differently. And actually this is the way that they fill them to begin with. So this here is a pod that I've already kind of torn apart for demonstration purposes. And what we'll do is if you take this black cap off, then this is what it looks like on the inside. So this here is the actual chamber that holds your oil. And what you see here at the top are two silicone bungs that fill these holes, seal them off, and there's a gasket on the inside of this as well. And that's how they fill these to begin with. And what they do is they actually puncture these gaskets with a needle and then just insert the oil that way. Now what I will do is something along those lines, but slightly different. The only difference being instead of puncturing those bungs, we're just going to work around them. It's easier and yeah, it gets the job done the same way. So what I have here is just an empty refill cartridge. And this here is a blunt tip needle. It's a 18 gauge needle. I bought this kit here of multiple gauge needles, and this is the largest one that I feel comfortable using. The next size up is a 16 gauge, and if you look, they're pretty noticeably different in size and diameter. Actually, to the extent that this one almost fits inside the larger 16 gauge. And trying to use the 16 gauge to get past these gaskets here just doesn't work. So the connector type is a lure lock, and you'll need that for most of these common refill cartridges. So all you have to do is let's put this on, and it just screws right on like that. And what you'll do is you'll work this needle around the outside of this gasket here, and it's pretty straightforward. You just kind of push it out of the way and then pop it right in, and as you can see, that goes really quickly, and you can see it inside of there then. And what you'll also see is inside the gasket's actually folded over right there, and when you pull this out, it'll close right back up as well. See if we can show that a little bit more clearly. You can see it moving there, and you just bypass it, and then when you retract the needle out, it closes on its own. So this one I actually used the syringe that came with these refill kits. This guy right here. If I can pull this out. Forget it. And sanded it down, and what happened is it actually created this large hole right here inside of this that it still works, it's just messy. There's no need to do it, and you can see this big black piece of the gasket that's been cut off. So don't do that. That's the short of it, and then you can just fill this cartridge up. It looks like you can fill it up pretty full. I wouldn't recommend doing more than half a gram or a little bit more than that at most. So what we'll do is we'll get rid of this demonstration cartridge and take a real empty cartridge and fill it up. Here is some oil that I have staying around, and when you're using a needle that is smaller gauge like this, you'll want to warm it up just to be sure that it flows well. And I just have a incandescent desk lamp that I just sit it under, and it works pretty well to warm it up. So with the lid on here, this black plastic cover, you kind of just have to go by feel. But basically, you go in through these ports right here, and it says the same gaskets, one on either side, and you want to go on the outside. So on the outside of this, not the inside of this gasket, because there's more sealing gasket on the inside, and it just gets in the way. So I go in kind of on the top and then just feel it, and then just push it through, and you can already see it protruding in there. Here we go. You can see it wiggling around in there. Yep. And then once you have that done, all you have to do is then start rotating. Oops, wrong direction. This way. And it'll start feeding, and we can watch it go right in. Let me take a minute here. And you can see already that's starting to flow in. And that's about it. So just keep working it. You can see it's filling up nicely. And depending on the syringe kit that you buy, you might need a different lock system, but the ones that are here use the lure lock, and it works just fine. Now, I don't know if it's necessary, but you can always, once you kind of fill it up past this black line where the lid is, you can then retract it and then fill in the other side if you'd like. You can, it's all one giant chamber in there, so you can fill the whole thing up from one side, as you can see. But it just really depends on personal preference at that point. So for demonstrations, I'll just switch to the other side then too. Just pull it out, just flip it over, and we'll go back in. And again, we are in there, and then we continue filling. The hardest part, honestly, is holding this, because you have to pinch it here and then turn it counterclockwise, and it's a weird feeling. Gotta love that childproof. does take a while when you have this narrow gauge needle compared to the one that it comes with. But there's a really clean, easy, straightforward process. Again, use a blunt tip 18 gauge needle. And you just have to work your way past that gasket. And you save yourself about 50% versus the cost to buy a brand new pod. And once we're there, so this looks pretty good. Let me put a little bit more in. And that's good for the demonstration. And then we will put a little extra on there. Just clean it, wipe that right off. So there's our refilled pod. And then just take our Pax, plug it in. I don't know if you can see that smoke or not, but it works just fine. Yep, and there it is. You're all set.